COFAC Creates is a great series that UWSP does every year through the College of Fine Arts and Communication, and it's one of the big opportunities that we get to highlight interdisciplinary work and to talk about how the work that we do here on campus is relevant to the broader community. So it's always an exciting topic, it's always intriguing, it's always interdisciplinary, and it always brings a lot of interest from both the campus and the larger community. Well, I'm an environmental historian, so I study United States environmental history, and I've always approached the concept of place through that lens. And so for me, time is important. That's kind of the way I watch place and how it changes. And what I talked about at the opening to that ceremony for this year's series was how the things that we do and how those things change can affect people's perceptions of place. So my work was all about industrialization and how over a century, really, the growing industrial technologies that we came to rely on erased some aspects of our interactions with the natural landscape and highlighted others, and that gradually changed how people perceive place. So, for example, in the mid-19th century, people had to work for a living. They had to work for food, they had to work for energy, they had to work to move from place to place. Just traveling into town, if you lived in the country, took time. It was arduous. Getting power from the landscape meant that you had to extract coal or wood, typically for a homeowner, and you had to burn it, and you saw it combust, and you had to get rid of the ashes. By the time you get to the 1930s and 1940s, transportation is by car. Most power comes at the flip of a switch. Electricity was spreading across the countryside. Food came from grocery stores. You didn't have to farm it yourself. So it was much easier. But what that had done was it erased working with the landscape from most people's lives. And so nature became not a place of struggle or strife or work or hardship. It became scenery. It became something that was passive. And that very much goes to the heart of what sense of place means. It shapes how people perceive place.
I think I'm more of a supportive person for this event rather than a major player. I know Diana Hoover did so much work, and Matthew Groshak did so much work regarding this, Jim O'Connor, right? So my role is, I did a small speech, it was less than 10 minutes, right, at the first event, which was really lovely with a group of indigenous people of the area, and that was very nice to see people that don't usually attend our events here. And I really love I actually did exhibit my work, which I had forgotten at the IA exhibition over in the Agnes Jones Gallery, right?
Do you want to talk about your work?
Yes, I'd love to talk about my work. So I'm known as a landscape painter, and I've had the privilege of being at more national parks as an artist in residence than I believe any other artist has. So I've been to Hawaii and Alaska, and then all throughout the United States too. So it's been a really lovely landscape experience, painting experiences. I don't feel like I've experienced the land unless I paint it. Mm-hmm. So that sense of place is very, very important to me. That idea that you're coming around to understanding a place that you've been. My experience is solely, painting, and if I sit on location and I paint, I'll see a shift of light coming out from behind clouds, and what I thought was like maybe a one mountain range becomes 3 mountain ranges that from the shift of light, and that still excites me to this day. And I've been painting for, I hate to admit it, 40 years probably now, right? So it's been a long time I've been painting, and it still delights me to have those experiences. And then as a painter, you're thinking, okay, do I change that, or do I keep to what my original intention was? And usually I'm changing it because I want that spontaneity in my work. So.
Perfect. Did you paint this?
Yes, I did. And that's at Rocky Mountain National Park. And this is like a great image. It was the view from my cabin that the park gave me. And there's no way I could afford to live in a park and have that kind of view ever. But it's the artist in residence view. So I had painted the park. I'd gotten selected once before. And I knew if I ever got selected again, I wanted to do this panoramic painting. And they luckily selected me a second time. And this was so convenient. It was just right off the I came out of my bedroom right into this view and painted, like almost 2 weeks on it, a little at the same time of day. So yeah, very lovely. And this park, if they hadn't come in and, taken it for the taxpayers, right, for the public, it had been converted to 2 golf courses, and so only the wealthiest could experience this. So now it will never be the same because those seeds that they introduced in the golf course still, it'll never be the same as it was. But when I was there, I'd see just I'd say 100 elk grazing every night. They'd come down from the mountains and graze. So it was pretty amazing. It's a beautiful, beautiful park. It's Rocky Mountain National Park. One of my favorites. I really enjoyed the gallery, I think, the most, but I'm a visual artist, so keep that in mind. I love the piece that took up the entire wall.
I got to interview him.
Oh,
so cool. Map.
What a sweetheart too of a person as an artist. And he was fascinating to me, in that he had been creating these pieces since 1960, and only worked on a few of them at a time, and didn't see what it looked like until he placed it up. Also over lunch, I had the pleasure of having lunch with him, and they had stopped it over on the left-hand side, and there was about, 3 inches. That really wasn't solved, right? And he said, oh, we can just bend it. And I thought, what? You bend your artwork, right? It was so strange. And then when I came back again, they had bent it and figured it out, and had just kind of taken it almost like a kind of digital way. And it was just so clever, yeah.
And he makes like multiple copies of it.
Yes.
Too, he gets the original copies and then that version's like 1 of the copies, and that's not even the whole thing.
I know. He could have adapted it for, originally they thought, did anybody tell you they originally thought to do it in the courtyard in here and make it this great big round one, right? They just couldn't get the courtyard and do the logistics of that. Yeah, it would have been very cool. So yeah, it was very creative and just amazingly lifetime piece that I just thought was just really very neat. And then I know Keith, he created a piece especially for that. In the process of creating it, it actually made sound, which he had not experienced before, and that was just something that just enriched the piece a little bit more. Yeah, and there was the painters, and yeah, it was just really a neat show. I just loved the show. I also loved the maps of our area that could be seen, and I have a historic home, so when my house was built was 1879, right, and be able to see those maps, prior to that and then after that. So yeah, I enjoyed the show immensely, and also the colors, the color of the painter's art, and then just the colors it was a beautiful show at that time of year when we need color in our life. I did see the show up by Agnes Jones, and that was fun to see. My colleagues' work, sketchbook work, which we don't usually show, right? And I exhibited 2 of my paintings that were done on paper, and those are basically, they're finished paintings, but they also are more like sketchbooks because I go on location and paint on location in a couple hours. So, but I'll finish a painting. So I enjoyed seeing like Rob Stolzer's sketches that he had done, and Kathy's watercolors that she had done, and. I think it's nice to have a theme and to see all sorts of interpretations of it instead of just the gallery having a theme, but there's so many interpretations for it. And to involve more people outside of our area, the disciplines outside of our discipline, and also just the public, so. I kind of hinted on it. It's the experience I see, I think, mostly, and then as I'm on location, some of my favorite places that I've been are the ones when the farmers come up to me and share a story about the land or their experience with the land, or they'll get frustrated. I'm painting maybe a barn if there is, and they're hesitant. They're going, oh, I should have painted it this summer or something like that. It just endears me. Another one, I'll get stopped on location, and galleries handle my work, so it's pretty expensive, right? And they'll say, how much is that painting worth? And I think they think it's going to be $10 or $20. And when I tell the prices, they look at me like I'm, not telling the truth, right? And I remember the one time when I was in Illinois, and I was living in Illinois, and I was just painting, and this woman stopped me and said, so I would like to purchase that painting. And I said, yeah, my gallery in Chicago handles my work, and so I can't really sell, an hour away from Chicago out of my car, right? And I'd have to ask for gallery prices. And she says, that's fine, and I'll be back in 2 days. And I thought, oh, I'll never see her again. And what she did was she purchased it. She had just been hired for another university. She turned out to be an academic, and she was going to become a president of that institution. And she had just been hired, and this was the road that she followed every day to get home. And she wanted a memory from that road. And I think that's why I paint. I think to be able to take those memories with you and just enjoy those experiences. And so, yeah, she paid full gallery price, didn't hesitate. I was just shocked that I could make a sale on location of that substantial, but it was mostly because the piece spoke to her. So the speaking to you, I think, is really important, that place. There's a place I paint. I try to paint every year. I missed last year, but hopefully I'll be able to paint this year. But I've painted it for probably 20 years now. And it's a place that I grew up camping when I was a child, and now my sister owns property near that. So when I go down to visit her, it's a Bennett Springs State Park in Missouri in the Ozarks, and I go every year and paint it. And there's one location I especially like, and it was one of my favorite fishing holes, right? And every year it changes. It looks totally different. And I just love painting it again and again. I had a colleague who said, oh, it's in one of, I've seen that painting before. And I'm thinking, no, you haven't, because it's brand new, right? And they aren't looking close enough to see that. To me, it changed radically, right? And I realized what Monet was doing, with his haystacks and his cathedral. And it does change. The light changes. The vegetation changes. It just is really lovely. So that sense of peace I have when I'm there, that sense of home I have, I think that's really why I probably became a landscape painter, because I'm trying to have that. And also, I notice when I'm on an artist in residency thing, I always want to move there. It cracks me up. Seldom have I been anywhere that I don't want to live there. I really, really enjoy the place I'm there at. So that sense of place.